The 13 colonies that would become the United States did not unite because of their great similarities. Indeed, they were very different in nature. They were different in their economic preferences. They were different in their educations. They were different in their religion, different in their philosophies. They were very different one from the other, and yet they were all united in their belief that their fortunes were better if they were freed from England. And so, guided by this common belief, they united to form an army that was able to beat one of the greatest superpowers of their day. After independence was obtained, there was little appetite to continue in a substantial long-term union. And so they formed a loose set of Articles of Confederation, and they thought that this would be sufficient going forward because they were not so interested in binding themselves tightly together. However, soon after this, they recognized that that form of government was inefficient to meet their needs. And so they realized that they would be better off. They would be better off in the long term if they did form a more perfect union. And so to further this effort, they authored and adopted the Constitution of the United States. In adopting this Constitution, they recognized that they would have to make sacrifices. They would have to sacrifice some of their preferences, sacrifice some of their freedoms. And yet they were united in their conviction that whatever they would have to sacrifice for the Union would be outweighed by the benefits that they would derive from the Union. And so, motivated by this conviction, they entered into the Union that we call the United States. This Constitution is an incredible document, and it fulfills a number of functions within our government. However, one of the primary functions that it does fulfill is how we deal with differences. You come into this union with your preferences, your opinions, your interests, and I come in with a different set of these things, and often these things collide. We can't do mine and yours. The Constitution provides us a framework for dealing with these, and we all agree that what the Constitution says, we will do. And that way we guarantee fairness. Even though I don't get everything I want, but still with that original ideal, what I sacrifice for the Union, I recognize is outweighed from the benefit I derived from the Union. So I'm willing to put aside some of what I desire in the name of the Union. I put the Union before myself. And so the Constitution provides us a way to deal with these differences. And so you see the Constitution enabling us to live out this Union and governing our behavior within the Union. However, there is a place where it falls short. There is a place where the Constitution is ineffective, and that is in the area of keeping us invested in the Union. Yes, it does a great job of guiding us while in the Union, but what is it that keeps us committed to it? The colonists, they understood why they needed to remain in this Union. They understood why they needed to sacrifice their freedoms and preferences for the sake of the Union. But of itself, the Constitution can do little to nothing to keep that mentality among the people of the United States. The responsibility for this lies with we, the people. We, the people, are the only ones who can decide if we ourselves and our fellow citizens will remain committed to and invested in this union. Nothing in the Constitution can of itself control this because the success or failure of the Union begins in the mind. And the Constitution cannot touch what goes on in my and your mind. The beginning of the success or failure of any union is in the mind of the individuals who comprise that union. This can be true of a marriage. It can be true of a business partnership. It can be true of a democratic government. The success or failure of any union begins in the mind of the individuals who comprise it. And so what is it that we must do to guard against the failure of this union? What must we do to perpetuate this union? The first thing I believe is necessary to be in the mind of those who comprise a union for its success is the belief that you and your preferences within the context of the union are deserving of equal weight as me and my preferences. Again, within the context of the union, I may not like your preferences outside of the union. I may not like your preferences. I may think they're immoral or foolish. I may not like them. I may not even respect or like you. But within the context of the union, I must believe that you and your preferences are deserving of equal weight as me and my preferences. What does that mean? That means that even though I personally did not like Donald Trump as a person, as a businessman, or as a politician, that was not something that he was not someone that I thought was worthy of the title president, even from his first campaign. But still, because in the context of the union, believe that other people and their preferences are deserving of equal weight as me and my preferences, he's allowed to go into the system of the Constitution. He's allowed to go through that thing by which we process disagreements, differences, and colliding interests. And he comes out, even though he had fewer votes, he comes out according to the electoral college system that we now abide by under the Constitution currently. He comes out after as the president. And though I didn't choose him, that was not my preference, still I believe that you and your preferences, those who did vote for him, are deserving of equal weight as me and my preferences. And so I sacrifice my preferences and say he is legitimately the president of these United States. He is my president, Donald J. Trump. That's what's necessary for the perpetuity of the union. The other corollary to that is I must believe that, but also I must believe that you believe that. I must believe that you believe that you and your preferences within the context of the union are deserving of equal weight for me and my preferences as well. It's very interesting that it may be the case that you actually believe that, but I don't believe that you believe that. Such was the case in the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln had given assurances that he was not interested in disturbing slavery in the Southern states. I don't know, and no serious historian has any reason to doubt his sincerity in that claim. However, the Southern states did not believe that he believed that they and their preferences were of equal weight, were deserving of equal weight as the Northerners and Abraham Lincoln himself and his preferences. And so they, as soon as he was elected, left the union. So you see here that there is the importance of both the belief within my mind and also ensuring that others believe that I have that belief. This is the first thing that's necessary to maintain a union. The next thing that's necessary to maintain a union is the belief that you are playing by the rules. It's simple. But if I don't believe that you are playing by the rules, that you are sacrificing as I am sacrificing for the sake of the union, I begin to be less invested in that union. I begin to be less committed to my sacrifices that I'm making for that union. And my lack of commitment then breeds in you less commitment, and that breeds in me less commitment. And we go down this cycle until neither of us is committed to the union and the union is dissolved. But these two concepts, the belief that you and your preferences within the context of the union are deserving of equal value as me and my preferences, and the concept that you are playing by the rules as I am playing by the rules, these are the bedrock foundations really of any union, but particularly of a democratic society. And these are two things that cannot be regulated or mandated or legislated by the Constitution or any other laws. These are mindsets that must be cared for by we, the people. There are some of us people who have greater influence over these mindsets because we've been entrusted with leaderships. We have a broader forum with which to impact these mindsets, these beliefs. And this is what brings me to President Donald Trump. I considered putting together a series of video clips to demonstrate this point. However, I concluded that this is beyond refutation and not worthy of the time. Donald Trump has openly advocated the concept that there are some Americans who are more American than others. He's put forward this idea that there is our country and some individuals are in our country or even invading our country, and we need to send some people back to their country or they need to leave our country. He's gone so far as to say Islam, not radical or fringe or elements of Islam, but Islam, all Islam hates us. He said a judge of Mexican heritage, American judge of Mexican heritage, could not do his job as a judge fairly because of his heritage. All of these advocating this concept that there are some Americans who are more worthy of weight in our system of government. These are the purer, the truer, the more Americans. These are the ones to whom this country belongs, and others are guests, visitors, or even invaders into our country. Now, again, I'll quickly concede that no president, no politician really has a perfect record on this. All politicians, all presidents have pitted some Americans against others and stoked some divisions and tried to take advantage of animosities. And even the Republican Party apologized for their doing of this over the years, stoking racial tensions. And so, yeah, I acknowledge that this has been a part of American politics throughout our history. However, I believe any fair assessment will conclude that Donald Trump has done this to a degree and with a blatancy that is unparalleled, at least in modern American history. This challenges the union in two ways. First, those who actually believe what President Trump is presenting, they accept this idea that this is our country and there are others who are at best visitors, at worst invaders in our country. And of course, inherently, those visitors or invaders would be worthy of less dignity and less respect and less concern in our country than others. And so as a result, they're withdrawing from the union. They won't say it, they don't understand it themselves, but they're withdrawing because they're not being united with these less worthies. They are with themselves drawing back. But what does that cause then? That causes them to ignore the interests of these others, to be even sometimes hostile to the pursuit of the interests of these others because they don't believe that they are worthy of these rights. On the other side, the other way that this challenges the union is that these recipients of this rhetoric, those who are hearing this, are now seeing, whoa, my rights, my security, my prosperity is in danger by this union. It's not the case that I'm sacrificing for this union something less than what I derive from the union. I need to see how to take care of myself. And so they are withdrawing from the union and looking for other ways to secure their interests. And again, as a result, there is a dissolution of the union, a retreating from that common shared interest, that common mutual sacrifice, that common respect that is required to maintain a union. The other mindset that we looked at is this idea that you are following the rules, that we're all following the rules. We're sacrificing our freedom, sacrificing our preferences together for this union. And this, again, President Trump has demonstrated that for him, the rules don't apply. That in many ways, he is above the laws. Again, I won't go into that. I think it's fairly easy to demonstrate that point. But the other side, I will take a little more time with. He has not only demonstrated that he is above the law, but he has also perpetuated this idea that the others are not following the law. See, again, it's a two-way thing. I need to believe that you are following the law, and you need to believe that I am following the laws. That's how it works. The rules apply to all of us, and that keeps us committed to the union because we're all sacrificing together. But President Trump, from his election, said that the election was rigged against him. Even after winning, he still says there was impropriety in the tallying of the votes, which is why he lost the popular vote. And consistently, he has railed against the judicial branch of government. He has railed against Congress exercising its subpoena and impeachment power. He's railed against even his own administration when others have gone against what he has wanted to hear them say. And so for him, not only does he not follow the rules, but also he has advocated very broadly that others are not following the rules. Why is this a problem? This is again a problem because it impacts how individuals view the union. Those who listen to President Trump are believing that others are not following the rules. Well, of course, if others are not following the rules, then it's okay for him to not follow the rules, which is largely why he's able to get away with his breaking of the rules with a lot of his base, because they can always give the excuse, well, those others in Washington are not following the rules. That's why it's okay for him to do this. And so again, if they're doing that on his side, what about the other side? So then others would logically feel that, well, if he's not going to follow the rules, why should we follow the rules? And we go back into this competitive cycle that only further, it puts us against each other, further dissolving the union. I'm not trying to say that Joe Biden is the knight in shining armor to come and deliver us from this all. But what I am saying is that Donald Trump is so far separate from anything we've seen, at least in modern American history, that we need to end this if we are to maintain this union. We need to end this if we are to maintain this union. This can and will spell the end of the United States as we know it if we continue in this pathway. Again, Joe Biden doesn't get off. Joe Biden and the Democrats also have a great responsibility to work to repair the union. Joe Biden and the Democrats cannot go with business as usual if we are to get out of this mess. Even if Donald Trump is defeated in the election, that does not ensure that the union survives. After Donald Trump's defeat, next comes the work of repairing, the work of reconstruction of the union that has been damaged. And if the Democrats and Joe Biden continue this tit for tat, continue this vengeful cycle, continue aggression for aggression, and continue to try and say, well, they didn't follow the rules when Trump was in, so we're not going to follow the rules, and they were disrespecting us, so we're going to disrespect them. And if they continue that same cycle, the union is still in jeopardy. So what I believe we need right now, first, is to severely end Donald Trump's presidency at the ballot. But secondly, we need to ensure that as far as it is with us, within our power to do, protect the union. What does that look like? That looks like bringing down the tone on some of these debates on social media. That looks like reaching across to some of the individuals that we've disagreed with. And I'm not saying we have to agree with them, not saying we have to all be hugging and lovey-dovey and all of that stuff. But what I'm saying is we need to show them that we are committed to the union. And hopefully showing that will win some trust from them to also be committed to the union. I think that those who are supporting Donald Trump need to be severely defeated electorally, but personally, we need to win them. Personally, they need to know that still we are in the union. And those who are Republicans, that are registered Republicans, those who are independents, I believe that your vote can go a very long way if you vote for Biden, not just because it will defeat Donald Trump, but it will send a message to Joe Biden. Joe Biden has a long history of bipartisanship. He has a long history of working with individuals like John McCain and even Lindsey Graham to get legislation passed. He has a history of working in the spirit of the union. But right now he's in a pressure place, because if the election is won in a landslide by liberals, by progressives, the far reaches of his party, he has to listen to them. He has to hear what they're saying when they're pushing him to be spiteful and to be vengeful, or to be more extreme in his approach with Republicans. But if he hears from the voters that a large portion of independents, a large portion of Republicans put him in office, then he'll say, okay, let's go. Let's work towards a United States of America. Let's work towards a government that is not me against you, them against us, but it is us working together. Yeah, someone's going to have to sacrifice. Someone's going to have to win this legislative victory and compromise over here. Yeah, that's how it works. But if he hears that that is the America that we want, that's what he'll follow. I'm sure of it. And so I believe that is what all of us can do to work towards restoring this union.